start recording. Hello there. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, this is my first time here.
Very well, very well. So let's learn about you. Please tell me what is your name and what do you do in general?
So, I'm Arkadiusz. I'm currently 23 years old, almost 24, and I come from Poland. This is very important. This is a very important part of my personality. Let's say I'm a very Slavic person, so to speak. And about what I do many things. I mean, I'm a programmer. I work as an iOS and Android developer, but I also study Chinese in Italy. I sometimes do music. I do some sound design. I do some podcasts because it's also a very important part of my personality is that I'm blind, which means I cannot see the screen. And this will be a big part of our talk, I think, today. And I work in some organizations for the blind that record podcasts. I used to write some articles about technology. So I'm a little bit like Emacs. I do many things.
Yes. Very good, very good. And of course, you mentioned Emacs, and many of those things you do inside of Emacs, from what I understand.
Yes, I am a fairly new user of Emacs. I started using it in July 2025. And basically, the story is very interesting as how I started doing this. Because many things came, and just the puzzles set into place. Because first of all, there was a very serious bug with the macOS screen reader, which is called VoiceOver.
Okay.
And it made me basically unable to interact with any links, whether it was on a web page, in a document, because there was a very big delay. I pressed the key and it took a long time for me to hear it. This was part one. Part two was that Xcode, the development environment we used to write iOS and macOS programs, got very difficult to be used with a screen reader. And part three, I think the most important, was that I was very bored. It was a long, very hot night. And I was just sitting at the computer trying to do some work. And I was thinking that maybe I should change something. Maybe the problem with my computing is that I don't have control over it. And it's not that, I pay for a product, so you have to fix a bug for me, because it never works that way. We are the product in today's time.
Yes.
We are buying the product. We are buying an illusion of ownership, I'd say. So, for instance, if I buy, I don't know, a phone, a computer, in lesser extent, but let's say I buy a phone. Okay, I physically own the device. I can touch it. I can play with it. I can use it. I can call my friends and family, but it's not true ownership, because since everything has a software, if the developer of that software decides to do anything, I either accept this or quit. So this is the illusion of ownership. And I was sitting there in my home, and I had this revelation that maybe this is a problem. What if the next day the screen reader stops working completely and I cannot do anything? I can't do work. I can't pay my bills, because...
Indeed.
So I installed Emacs. Because there was this, I've heard, in the blind community, this add-on called Emacspeak is very popular. So it's more difficult than that. Because almost nobody uses Emacs in the blind community, but almost everyone knows Emacspeak.
Interesting.
By name. Oh, because there's this magical program which is very hard to use, and this program is called Emacs, and there is this even harder to use screen reader for it, which is called Emacspeak, and it's developed by this guy who also made ChromeVox, so the screen reader for Google Chrome and Chrome OS. He also took part in making TalkBack, which is the default screen reader of Android. Even if you are not blind, you probably seen it somewhere in like accessibility settings or wherever.
Yeah, it rings a bell. Yes.
Yeah, so
The author, I believe, is TV Raman. I believe, right?
Yes, TV
Yeah.
Raman.
Yeah,
He's
Raman. Yeah.
yes, he's.
Yeah.
I don't know if I pronounce it well. I'm sorry if I don't.
I don't know either. So. Okay, so you get all these warnings that Emacs is very hard. Emacspeak is also very hard. And you're bored and you're like, well, what could I do? I will pick the hardest option available, basically. Is that it?
Yes, yes, because I used Vim previously. But the problem with Vim, there are many problems with Vim for a blind person. I love Vim. It's not that I have anything against it, but for a blind person, there's many problems with this. So the first problem is that Vim uses H, J, K, L, those keys to navigate.
Yes.
But there is a very small but important detail. Console screen readers, like on Linux, we have a program that's called SpeakUp. Sorry, SpeakUp is a kernel level screen reader for Linux, which allows to read the console. And for SpeakUp and for many other screen readers like TDSR, which is a screen reader for macOS console, those screen readers are programmed so that they know, okay, down arrow moves a line. So if the user presses the down arrow, I should read the current line. If the user presses the right arrow, I should read the next character, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
This is basically how those old screen readers are programmed. So even if I want to use Vim, I have to use the arrow keys to navigate, which basically defeats the purpose, right? Because if I have to use arrow keys, I can very well use anything else.
And I imagine this extends to all the other keys, because in Emacs we have this concept of the self-inserting keys, like H. I mean, the computer understands H. You typed H or J,
Yes.
etc. I imagine the same is true if you do like the percentage or the single quote and so on, right?
Yes, I mean the character echo is something different. It just reads the last input character. It mostly works, and there are ways. I know some blind people who use Vim.
But the motions specifically, okay, I see.
The motions,
yes,
the motions are trouble, are a little difficult to get right. And the other reason why I wanted to use Emacs is that I've heard of GNUs. And I was like very annoyed with modern way we do email. Because I open my email, I receive a message like, I don't know, an invoice.
Okay.
And the invoice is like 200 kilobytes, but I have to load a 5 megabyte message because it has images, it has JavaScript, it has, I don't know what else. And, you know, it just compounds to a very big amount of time. Like we lose this tiny amount of time every day doing some trivial things like opening emails. And I could spend this time with my family, with my friends. I could, I don't know, rest. I could read a book. I could do so many things. So this day was very important for me because I got this revelation, and I installed Emacs, and I didn't know what to do. I followed the instruction to the letter, and it didn't work. And it didn't work.
Just to ask at this point, okay, so you install Emacs, but you install it, and on the same day, I imagine you also install Emacspeak, or how would you use it initially?
Yes, because Emacspeak is basically required. Emacs, if I launch Emacs in the normal mode without the NW, it's unusable without Emacspeak. So I had to install. I installed them both. I followed the instructions. It turned out that the problem was with my synthesizer configuration. It was macOS specific, so the manual of Emacspeak didn't specifically mention it. So I had to dig around, but I got it working. It was late night at this point because I started at about 10 and I finished at about 1 when Emacs got speaking.
Okay.
And I started following the tutorial. I pressed CHT as suggested by the welcome screen. And I started following the tutorial. And when I first started, the first thing which really stood apart for me, and it really made me want to use Emacs more, was the audio syntax highlighting. So to explain,
Yes,
all
please
of us,
explain.
the sighted people have different colors for different things. Emacs calls it faces. We have a different faces for bold text, for italic text. And what Emacspeak does is it allows me to assign any arbitrary voice to any arbitrary face, which this is huge. Prot, I don't know.
That's massive,
because,
of course, because now
yes,
you can differentiate what is where based on the feedback you receive.
Yes, and this is passive information, because this is huge, because previously, when I was writing like a document, I had to query the system. I had to press a hotkey to understand the font size, the font weight, and so on. I had to do the additional key press. I had in October 2025. I'm sorry, I'm so chaotic, but it's
No problem.
but it's just the flow.
No, that's
So
how it should be, and the flow will lead to structure. So yeah, we already cover a good ground.
in October 2025, if you want to learn more, I had a presentation on a iOS developers conference in Bologna in Italy, which was called Pragma Conference 2025.
Okay. And we can link to it, by the way, in the description.
We can. And even though I was speaking about iOS development, but even if it's not something that you are not interested in, I cover a concept of active and passive information, and what is an active information and what is a passive information. And just in a very big shortcut, active information is when I have to press a key to get a response.
Okay.
Press a key to see if my code is correct. And the passive information is when I navigate through the code and I can understand both the code and its correctness. And Emacs provides me with passive information. And this is huge for me.
Okay. May I ask something here? So is there a distinction between the two, or rather, do you as a user have control over the intensity of these? For example, what I mean, if I am actively seeking something, I might want to have more intensity, such as intensity of color or intensity of audio feedback. But if it's passive, it's like in the background, I imagine I don't want it to be as distracting, because probably I'm doing something else and I just want it to be there. Or am I misunderstanding?
Okay, so by default, Emacspeak has this. I can maybe even. You know what? Can I? If I share my screen, will you be able to hear the audio?
I do hear your audio. I don't know if by sharing your screen, we can try.
Can we try? I'll open my Emacs package.
Let's try.
I'll open my package. For instance, this. I'll slow down the speech.
Yeah.
So, and that will be if you read it, if I show this to you, it will speak Polish, but don't worry about it.
Oh no problem.
I'll share my screen.
So right now I hear you typing.
Yes, because
Yeah.
I have to still start sharing my screen. Yes. Allow to share screen.
Very good.
I'll have to close some things.
No problem.
Yeah, unfortunately, if anyone ever watches this from Jitsi, this is a little difficult to use with a screen reader.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's understandable. And then I want to ask you about this, actually, but we will get to that. I want to ask you about generally how it is to use a computer the way you do, and also how people who write software can help in this regard. But we will get to that. Let's.
I shared my screen.
Right now you are sharing your screen, yes.
And can you hear?
Let me. No.
No, you don't.
I don't. Yes.
That's a problem, unfortunately.
No problem. No problem. I guess the audio is designed in a way to come to your earphones or whatever.
Yes.
But not. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I'll just stop to save bandwidth because
yes, of course. Take your time.
It's important to be mindful of what resources we use. Okay, but
that's a good attitude.
yes, but by default, Emacspeak will play a different voice depending on phase. Of course, I can map, so I can select the voices I like, and I can make a setup that makes sense for me. But if I don't want, I can toggle a buffer local variable, they call it in the Emacs world, and it will stop. It will just use the norm one voice.
Okay. So you can go from many voices to one voice, so monotony in this case.
Yes, and it will just. And I also wrote a very small Emacspeak extension, Emacs extension, which allows me. It's like iSearch, but for faces, so I can search for the next occurrence of a given face in the buffer.
Wonderful. And you do that by querying the faces, like the text properties, or by searching for the given speech or voice?
No. I query the text properties. I have it bound to Control-Shift-S.
Okay.
And Control-Shift-R, respectively.
And what's the idea with that? So for that is like, I want to go to the next keyword, like it works with the face at point or with the face that you specify? How exactly?
It's very Spartan. It prompts me for the name of the face, and then when it does, I can press Control-Shift-S or Control-Shift-R to go to the previous or next occurrence of that face.
Okay.
So it prompts me like for, I don't know, let's see, I like org mode -heading -1, I think it's called, for instance.
Okay, I see.
And it prompts me for that face, and I can search for it, because a sighted person, you look at your screen, you skim through your screen, and you directly see this. I don't have this ability, even with this multi-voice setup. I still can read only one line at a time. So this is very important if I make such helpers.
Yes, excellent. And Emacs, because of course it's configurable and extensible, it gives you that ability, that power.
Yes, exactly. And this was like very empowering for me. Like I'm using a computer for a long time already, and I think we are moving backwards in many directions if it comes to computer usage. And like many people say, oh, I won't use Emacs because it's not modern. But for me, when I installed Emacs, it was so fresh and modern that I still feel like I'm in a different world. Of course, I don't have so much time. I don't have as much time as I wish to explore it, because I do many other things. But whenever I have time, I study the manuals. I read the source code of the LISP. And it's so empowering, and it's so interesting, and it's so eye-opening, and it gives me so much to learn and think about in different things. It's not because it's not the software. It's also philosophy.
Yeah, it's the culture as well, and the community.
Sorry for my English.
No, your English is very good. Yeah.
But yes, it's the culture. It's the it's the collaboration. It's the openness. It's so many things.
Let me ask you something. So for somebody who doesn't know about the computing experience with a screen reader in general, can you describe it in a few words? So you are doing an introduction. So somebody who has never heard about this before, like, how do you interact with the computer? And of course with Emacs in particular, but with the computer in general.
So yeah, before we do Emacs, we have to do the computer. So first of all, the most important thing is that blind people do not use a mouse. We only use keyboard And operating systems, many operating systems have a very good keyboard experience, like macOS. I'm sorry to say, but Windows is the best, unfortunately, for accessibility. Linux to some extent as well. If someone uses GNOME, they are pretty fine. If someone uses KDE, they are mostly okay.
Okay.
I really like KDE, by the way. I like the philosophy. I like the configurability and so on, but it's difficult to use. If someone uses Niri, the tiling window manager, it's good because people from Niri try to implement accessibility. But if someone uses a different environment, it's not very good.
I understand. Yeah, okay.
We use keyboard to navigate, and the program reads everything. Like my cursor is passing over a link. Like I can now press, because I use Mac OS now. I can press like Control Alt D to open the dock. I can press S to go to the browser. I press Command T to open the new tab. I can type protesilaos.com, for instance. Okay, and now when I go, it reads line by line, so about 1 of 6, contact 2 of 6, Emacs packages 3 of 6, and I can interact with the internet in such a way, or basically with any application which exposes the accessibility tree, because a sighted person doesn't care whether the program uses graphics rendering or whether it uses Qt or not exactly, because like Qt applications look different than GTK applications, but you know more or less what I mean.
Yeah. That's a very small stylistic difference relative to how things are laid out. Yeah.
Yes. Whereas for me, this is very important what framework an application uses, because if the framework doesn't expose so-called accessibility tree, then the program cannot read anything, and it's just a blank window for me. I can't see anything in the window. Like, what application? Okay, there's this great app called Pigeon.
Pigeon, yeah.
It's a great, yes, it's a great application, and on Linux it works great because it exposes the accessibility tree. But if I try to use it on macOS, my screen reader can see only a blank window.
Oh, that's a pity. Yeah.
Yes.
Which makes it completely unusable, right? There's no way for you to just stumble across some functionality there.
No, there is no way. I could take a photo with my phone and ask my phone to read with some AI, but this would be impractical, and it will be against my morality, because I try to avoid AI, even though AI helps. It can help blind people in many daily situations, but I try to avoid it. It's more of a moral issue for me. It's not the technology is impressive, but the morale behind it, it's not. Is not.
While using the computer, or maybe we can get to AI also later, but I still want to understand a little bit your experience. While using the computer, many of the things that happen, for example, a window pops up, or you get a notification, like somebody messaged you or whatever. Do you receive audible feedback for those? Like, Firefox just launched or whatever.
It depends on the operating system. It depends on the screen reader. Like, for instance, macOS, it reads window changes. It plays a small sound when I change window. It reads the notification with the same voice as the rest of the content.
Okay.
But like, I was translating another screen reader from Windows for Windows, because previously I was using Windows. And I was using this great screen reader from China, which is called Zhengdu, which means to struggle. And that's a very, very good name, actually. And basically, I made a lot of friends while working there. I was translating the screen reader to both English and Polish from Chinese.
Okay.
And for instance, this screen reader has this concept of channels. So a channel is basically a stream of information. Like, I can route my notifications through a different channel. So like, I can hear my notifications via a different speaker or via my left ear, whereas I hear everything in my right ear. And this is pretty close to what we have in Emacspeak, but Emacs has a much more powerful system even than that.
So what makes Emacs's system more powerful? What does it do in addition to those channels?
Because Emacs is cohesive. Emacs is introspective, so Emacs knows about itself. It can. I know it might sound delusional, but you know what I mean.
I know.
Because when I make a screen reader for an operating system, I have to pray that the application will expose all the information I need. Maybe, like, for instance, LibreOffice Writer might expose some information, but only Office might not. You know?
Okay, yes.
So, whereas, doing things in Emacs, while using like the widget.el, while using transient, all the behaviors can be foreseen by the screen reader. And this is why the screen reader is can be much more powerful, because like there's this Emacs package called APPT. It's for
the built-in.
I don't know if I pronounce it well. It's for I used it even today. It prompted me for the meeting, and I
just to say, sorry, just to interrupt you there. Yeah? APPT is a shorthand for appointments. Exactly. Yeah.
So you see, even when I speak, I speak strangely sometimes, because for you it's normal. You see APPT because they are standout letters of the word appointment, and you can automatically assign it, whereas I read it as my screen reader reads it, right?
Yes.
Or like APPT. Your packages. I know I should call it timer, but for me it's still TMR.
No, I also call it TMR actually. But that's basically a play. If it's TMR, timer
must run. Yes.
Yeah. So and about APPT, let's hear it. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you there. Yeah.
So APPT or appointment has this way of reminding me to display a pop-up window. And it uses standard Emacs facilities, so it was just a couple of lines of Lisp to make it so that Emacspeak speaks in a much louder voice, so that even when I'm like reading a document or doing anything else, I can hear it.
Yes. And this is what I had in mind earlier when I was asking you about the active and passive. So the much louder voice, exactly. So it's like, okay, really bring this to my attention.
Yes, it's like red for a sighted person. And this is it. Basically, I can customize everything. There's a great Emacs client for Telegram, which is called Telega. I always I like to speak about Telega because it's an example of Telegram is very difficult to use for blind people, and I'll tell you why.
Yes,
if you're interested.
Yes, please.
Telegram is very, very difficult to use for blind people because the developers of Telegram don't care. They wrote directly to me, we don't care about accessibility. We don't want to implement it.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you for your sincerity, but Telegram is pretty popular in some parts of the world. People fought hard, and Android version of Telegram is pretty accessible. Because Telegram, the iOS version is very badly accessible. It can be used, but it's very difficult. Okay. Whereas on the desktops, Windows, macOS, Linux, the default Telegram clients are blank for a screen reader. The screen reader doesn't see anything.
It's completely unusable. Yeah. Oh, yes. Wow. And it's a pity. It's a pity for such a widely used application to be in this state.
Yes, because they willingly exclude a group of people.
Yes.
Willingly. It's
willingly.
I understand it's difficult. Nobody asked them to implement it like, oh, you have to do it tomorrow. No. But if you worked with the community, if they worked with the community, there are many blind programmers. I'm not an exception. Programmer is a very popular profession for a blind person, at least in some countries. And there are many blind people who would gladly work for it. But yes. They willingly refused it. But, sorry, I digress again. There's this great Emacs package which is called Telega, which, by the way, if someone doesn't know, Telega is made by a Russian person, and Telega means a cart. Like, you carry something in a cart. So this is also a play on Telegram and Telega, Telega.el.
Is Telega a cart in Russian language?
Yes, a cart, a cart, it's in English. You pull it and it goes on wheels. And
Very
this
nice.
Telegram is a fully featured Telegram client inside of Emacs. And the developer was very friendly. He taught me a lot of, because I asked him a lot of questions. But without his intervention, I was able to make an Emacspeak package which automatically reads incoming messages. And I can select, like, I want message from you to be automatically read, but I don't want messages from other groups. Like, I'm now chatting with you, so I want your message to be automatically read from any buffer, wherever I am in Emacs. And this was very easy to do because Emacs is so introspective and it's so open. So yes, the developer helped me because he showed me, oh, here is the hook. This hook is called when the message is inserted, and it was no problem for me to just add my own functionality to that hook, and this is so empowering.
And just to ask about this hook specifically, does it give you access to the metadata of the message? Like, okay, you got a message, but this message comes from Prot, and Prot is in your, I don't know, VAP list or whatever.
Yes, it does. Telegram offers such functionality. But I have it set up differently because there's a Telegram supports dbus notifications. And Telegram prepares the notifications for me. So only I replace dbus logic with my logic in Emacspeak. I use the similar logic, so to speak. So if I change something in Telegram in terms of notification, Emacspeak will understand this.
Okay. Tell me then a little bit about Emacspeak specifically, because you already mentioned that I wrote this little extension, I made this little tweak here and there, this extra package. What is the idea for Emacspeak? Like a person who starts using Emacs today, can they use Emacspeak well, or do they also need to know how to program in eLisp in order to make it work for them?
So this is a very complicated question. I mean, I could give you a simple answer, but I won't. Sorry.
No. Give me what you want to give.
So Raman had to stop development of Emacspeak in 2024. Emacspeak is a very old package. It's 30 years old. It's older than me. It's born in 1994. And it uses some pretty old Emacs paradigms like def advise instead of advise add. Advising functions, for those who don't know, to advise a function, it means to add a functionality to an already existing function. And this advice can be in Emacs, like Emacspeak advises the next line function and it goes to the next line and then reads the current line. This is advising. And like, of course, if the program is not maintained, it means that some functions will change with Emacs versions. And like with the latest version of Emacs, which is not released yet, 31, there are some bugs. But the latest stable version of Emacs, 30.0.50, I think, it can be used very well with Emacspeak. Raman himself calls Emacspeak the complete audio desktop. And why Emacspeak is so good is that Raman was a clever man, or is, and when he started writing Emacspeak, he didn't treat Emacs as a text editor only. He treated Emacs as a full environment. And when you go to Emacspeak's website, it says Emacspeak, the complete audio desktop. And it means that Emacspeak can do many things. It can interact with org mode, it can interact with dired, it can interact with GNUs, it can interact with EMMS.
In principle, with everything, right?
Yes, of course it's but those newer packages like Telega, of course times change and Emacs also changes. And of course, first of all, Raman doesn't have to know about every possible package. So like if I recently started using Hyperbole, which is also very interesting for me especially. hyperbole. I'll talk about hyperbole because it's also important, but a little later.
Please, yes.
And of course, Hyperbole didn't have good support for Emacspeak. So, like, Hyperbole has its own functions of killing regions, and Emacspeak didn't read what I kill.
Yeah.
But it didn't. I'm not very good at Lisp. I'm still learning. I still make very basic mistakes, like I forgot a parent. But it's not difficult to start.
Can I ask you something about
Yes?
this, specifically with the region? Because in Emacs, whenever you run a command, it automatically sets two variables. One is called the last command, and the other is called the this command. And so what you can do if you are defining a wrapper, so for example, there is, let's say, kill line, the standard command to delete the current line, right? Kill line. Let's say that I am writing a wrapper for kill line, which does something else as well, such as to pulse a face on the current line. What I can do is at the end of my function, I can do set q, this command, kill line, instead of prot kill line. Which means that if you have an advice for kill line, it will continue to work with prot kill line.
So I would have to discuss with the developers of Hyperbole. I didn't know that.
It could be as simple as that. Of course, you could also add an advice to the hyperbole functions, but if those hyperbole functions basically are wrappers of existing functions that are already advised by Emacspeak, then this setq this command is probably enough.
You see that I didn't know that, and this is also another reason why I like Emacs so much is that we are sharing knowledge between ourselves, between the community of Emacs. Like now, Prot told me something I didn't have an idea about, and I'll be able to put that in practice. Emacs encourages to share, and that's also why I like this program so much on an ideological level.
Exactly, because it's free software, but it's not just a license. It's not like, oh, you have freedom. The code is right there for you. And then, of course, you have the freedom now, which you can already exercise, to modify that code. And then what will you do with it? You will share it with other people who have the same interests as you do.
Yes,
so there
exactly.
is the community, yeah.
So yeah, that's it basically. And I also met a lot of interesting people like with the Emacs community, and now I basically use Emacs for 95% of my computing environment, including writing and reading Chinese.
Okay. I will get to that, but let me finish a little bit with the Emacspeak, and then you will tell me. Because you were telling me, okay, it works with the latest stable version, but not with the in-development version, the development target, which is Emacs 31. How far is it for it to be compatible with Emacs 31? Which should come out in a few months, maybe a year.
When I first saw the problems, I was very scared that, this is the end. I started using this and soon I'll have to finish because I won't be able to fix that. But there is one serious problem.
Okay.
And this, I mean, quotes unquotes, because for someone it might be, because there is this program called ERC, which is the Emacs IRC client. And this program changed a little bit and it doesn't want to open with Emacspeak. I managed to fix that bug.
Okay.
There are a couple of minor issues, like with org mode when I move heading with meta up and meta down. There is something wrong and Emacspeak doesn't properly announce that, but this is a minor issue. And there are over 300 warnings which are annoying, but they don't change anything.
Okay.
So it's not much now, but if Emacspeak continues to be unmaintained, it will become more and more, of course.
And of course, maintenance of a package is at first the responsibility of the developer of the package, but at second, also if there is a community that can rise up and take the mantle of responsibility if the maintainer is no longer available or willing.
Yes. I had this idea to start maintaining Emacspeak because I use it every day and I fix it anyway. So why not contribute my fixes?
Yes, makes perfect sense to me.
But my brother is a lawyer, but I'm very bad at understanding law and so on because it's so complicated. Like,
It's not meant to be understood.
It's not meant. Yes.
Of course, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But I don't want to do anything wrong. Like I still feel I'm very new to Emacs, and I still don't know if I should try this. Maybe if it breaks further, I'll do some more decisive action. For now, I just fix the bugs, and I actually had an Emacspeak fork on GitHub, but it caused problems because I did something wrong, so I had to delete it. But soon it will be back up, and my fork. It's just Emacspeak with all those fixes applied. I have I have some more ideas how to make Emacspeak better, but of course, first of all, I think I need to ask someone if I can continue.
Yeah. Okay. I see. I understand. Yeah. And the thing, of course, is that if you are public about it, chances are you will get the developers to also help you, or others to also help you. And maybe that will actually be better for the package itself and easier for you also to maintain it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like the landscape of previously we didn't have a lot of mini buffer completion packages. Like we had company, but company was basically re-implementing everything from scratch. Oh, sorry for
No, bless you, bless you.
This is this time of year where allergies start to pop up, unfortunately.
I know.
So, but recently we have this CAPF frameworks like Corfu and so on. And
completion at point functions.
Completion and point functions, yes. And for instance, Corfu doesn't work with Emacspeak. Company does, but Corfu doesn't. Vertigo doesn't. There's this Marginali, I think it also doesn't. And this is also something to think about because the times are changing and people are starting to use different packages.
Yeah.
So that's I think the biggest challenge of Emacspeak for now is to be able to use the packages that are relevant.
Yes. Given though that company works but Corfu doesn't, my guess is that Emacspeak simply lacks the relevant advice.
Advices, yes. So it's it seems easy in practice. Just read through the Corfu source code and add the correct advice. But of course,
that's work. Yeah.
And it's not even that. That's huge responsibility, and I'll tell you why. Because many blind people, I mean, there are not many blind users of Emacspeak, but what I mean is many blind people who use Emacspeak use Emacs as their desktop, basically. So every bug I fix, every function I introduce makes it possible for the desktop of those people to crash, to make them unable to use their computer. And one has to be very thoughtful about this while writing Emacspeak. Actually, a very long term, my wish, let's say my dream for Emacspeak would be to cover it with, Emacs Lisp regression testing framework. I don't know how to pronounce the ERT. I think it's called. Just to make it safe for people, because it should be safe first of all, because people rely on computers. Blind people more than sighted people, I would say, rely on computers and on technology. So we have to make everything in our power to make it safe, to make it not break the whole experience.
Yeah. I understand. And of course, I think it's great that you have this sense of responsibility, because that is an important quality for a maintainer, especially for such a critical piece of software.
Yeah, because it's like a graphics driver for a sighted person. basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's the single point of failure. If that thing doesn't work, nothing works.
Yes, exactly. And there are many blind people who live alone and they don't have anyone sighted. Like, oh, help me because my computer doesn't work. Read to me what's on the screen. Not anyone has this possibility, so we have to be very mindful.
Yes, exactly. And how is it, by the way, on this? Like, because you mentioned the system crashing, so I'm curious. Like, if you are in a Linux console, in a TTY, have you ever been there? Have you ever interacted with that?
Yes, I was there.
Is there screen reader capability at that level? Because you mentioned earlier something about the kernel level capabilities.
It depends what sound card you have. There is because Linux has this audio system called ALSA, which is the kernel level audio system. There is kernel level screen reader, which is called BRL, which is called Speak Up. And there is a software synthesizer, which is called eSpeakUp, which makes it make a sound. And there is also a program which is called BRLTTY, and BRLTTY is a Braille terminal support, so I can plug in a Braille display. A Braille display is a very expensive device which makes basically pop up a Braille. So Braille is a touch writing system used by blind people. And on the Linux TTY, the best thing is to use Braille if you have such a possibility, because the speech is junky. It can often vanish. So Linux TTY can be used if you have a good setup already. Like if you manage to set it up and it works for you, then great. But like if you use a TTY as a rescue shell, sometimes you have to be careful because you might lose speech and you might be unable to go on.
Okay. So it's important for people to be extra mindful.
Yes.
What they do. I am curious, like from a developer, like such as myself, what can somebody like me do to make your experience easier? Is there something we can do, or it has to all be done in Emacspeak or another voice reader, like basically the equivalent of Emacspeak elsewhere?
Okay, so if it's because it's Emacs is a little bit different world. But if you use if you mean Emacs, then you can always anyone can download the code of Emacspeak and you can advise your own package. And this is the best way you can help if you advise your own package. Because you know the best way to advise your package so not to break its functionality. Because like, I'm sorry to digress. Can I for a moment?
You can always do that.
I was advising Hyperbole recently, and I wanted to not use dev advice anymore because dev advice is obsolete. And I wanted to use advise add. But advise add has one little problem, which can become huge if you don't know about it. Advise add, when the function queries, when it does interactive P to check for interactivity, advise add makes that check unreliable.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it sets this value to nil. And this is a huge problem because I broke Hyperbole. My Hyperbole stopped working as I wanted it to. And I didn't know what did I do. Oh, did I update Hyperbole? No, I didn't. And I started digging through my Emacspeak Hyperbole integration, and oops, I've advised the function which queries for interactive P. And you as a package developer, you would be able to avoid this error because you know how your package works, right? And you have no problem with this.
Yes. So okay, that's important to know. So being able to do that, and I imagine Emacspeak basically tells us what we would need to do. Like fundamentally, when some change happens, read the portion of text that has changed. Is that the gist of it?
Yes. Mostly, you also can map faces. If your package exposes some custom faces, you can map the faces as well to voices, to voice groups, and then every user can map them accordingly. But you can map the most important faces
Okay. I will have to check it out more carefully because I think that's something that we could do eventually. Like, of course, it depends on if there is somebody to also help us test it, but at least
Yes.
the big ones, like, we could at least start covering it.
Yes. And if developers do that, if they send pull request, if it's good if you send pull requests to Emacspeak. I mean, from what I know, Raman will not return, unfortunately. It's not sure information. I don't want to spread gossip, but for now at least, he won't. But even if your package has an advising system, you can just make Emacspeak convention is like make a file emacspeak-package name.el, like emacspeak-tmr.el, for instance, and you can query if Emacspeak is active. You can check it via feature p. And if it's active to your logic, like I was working a few months ago, I was even more, because TMR makes it impossible when I'm in the interface and the timer is running. When I go with the down arrow, Emacspeak always reads the first line. I actually discovered why it is. Prot helped me with this.
Yeah.
The buffer was refreshing and the point wasn't saved. So it's not an elegant fix. This is why I didn't contribute it, but I disabled refreshing of the buffer if Emacspeak is active, and that's it. And it works.
Yes. And actually, I provided the user option for that. I don't know if I told you yet. Where you can actually set the refresh rate. It was defaulting to 1 second. And I think I changed the default now to 5 seconds, but you can also just set it to nil.
Oh, so that's great. I have to update. I try not to update my Emacs because I update it when I have time, because when I have to work, I try not to risk it.
No, don't.
If it works, it works.
Plus, because you rely on the advice mechanism extensively, updating could also break your advices.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, then let's switch topics a little bit. Tell me a little bit about Hyperbole. Why do you use it? What do you find interesting in it? How is it helping you? And then we can move on to other topics, such as you mentioned Chinese, and I'm curious to learn about that.
Yes, Chinese is very important, and languages. I like to learn languages. I like to work with them. But Hyperbole is a Emacspeak information manager. And when I first discovered this package, I was like, oh, I have no idea how I could use it. Who would want to use it and why? Because Hyperbole has this concept. I don't know if you've used it.
I have used it, yes.
So it has this concept.
Not in earnest, though. I don't commit to it for everything.
It has this concept of implicit buttons. So like I can click on things and pray it will work and do something interesting. And I was like, no, this is not a good idea, because I'll have to click on everything and maybe it will work, maybe it will not, maybe I will know what it does, maybe I won't. But it became very intuitive for me. Now, when I see a path, I automatically press meta return and it opens it. And for a sighted person, this might be very interesting as well. But for me, it's even more interesting because I'm on equal footing as the sighted person, because implicit buttons, they do not have any visual indication.
Yeah.
So since they don't have any visual indication, they had to be designed so that they can be used without a visual indication, which makes it a perfect fit for my use cases. Like if I see a URL, I can press meta return. When I see a Emacs key sequence like C-X space M, for instance, I can press enter and it will activate this. And I use Hyperbole in my research of Chinese and of other topics, because I have an org mode document which contains now I'm writing a thesis, and it contains my thesis, and I use org babel in org mode for some things, and I use Hyperbole a lot to execute the blocks. because my org Babel blocks, they do they fetch some data like from the Chinese dictionary, so that I can cite my bibliography and so on. I also use Hyperbole. I have explicit buttons also, which are like an implicit button. Hyperbole knows it by default. Explicit button I make.
Let me just ask here something. So for somebody who doesn't know, so an implicit button is like inferred by Hyperbole based on the context. Is that the idea of it?
Yes, based on the text, like what the text has to offer. Like the one button I use a lot is like when I press meta return. So this is the Hyperbole activation button. When I press meta return on an opening brace of a defun I never know symbolic expression because I don't want to use that different name.
Yeah.
A symbolic expression, it will select the whole symbolic expression, and Hyperbole knows it because it. But going back to my research, I have also some explicit buttons which open my books, my the bibliography I read, the dictionary, and so on, and I have all.
And just to ask, the explicit buttons, by contrast, is what you write.
I wrote. I wrote those little pieces of Lisp, and the best thing is that when I export my thesis, my promoter, or however you call the person who checks it, will not see them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because this is only for myself, and this is in the source, because I write in org mode and LaTeX is a hybrid. And Hyperbole comes in very useful. I can very much reason about. I can make a wiki style research platform. Some people use Orgrom. I tried to use Orgrom, but it didn't click with me. I prefer more native. Hyperbole just seems more native to the Emacs environment, which doesn't mean Orgrom is bad, because it's very good for some use cases. I don't like it as a database. I know why it is, and it's good it does, but I prefer to have everything portable, because sometimes I work on my partner's computer and so on, and I have to have a good, easy access to everything.
And that's the nice thing of Emacs in general. Like, you can have your own opinions, you can be unapologetic about them, and you're actually empowered to commit to them. So nobody will tell you, oh, this is right, this is wrong.
Exactly. Yes. So we were speaking about... I'm sorry if you have any questions.
About Hyperbole. So this is basically how you use Hyperbole.
Yes, I use it. The best thing about Hyperbole is you use it without knowing you use it. When you learn it, when you invest a little of your time in it, it just becomes natural. By the way, I'm really grateful to Bob Weiner, the author of Hyperbole, because I wrote to him and I told him about my struggles with Emacspeak and Hyperbole with some functions, and he was very willing to help me. And
nice.
I'm really grateful to him and the other maintainer. I forgot.
Mats Liddell, I think.
Yes. I didn't know how to pronounce it, and they were
well.
Very
I
kind
don't know either. I just hope for the best.
and they were very kind to reply to me.
Okay, that's good. It's important for maintainers to also be responsive and helpful wherever possible.
Yes. So now about Chinese, if I can, because this is very huge.
Because of course you started this talk and you told me about your Slavic identity. You are a very Slavic person, I think, is what you said. And of course I want to learn about that. But what I'm curious is, how does a Chinese fit into this picture for a person from Poland who is active in Italy as well? Yeah, you said Bologna.
Yes. Well, no, I studied in Milan, but I was in Bologna on that because I don't want this talk to be sad. So I'll just talk about this part very briefly, because I wanted to study in my country. I never wanted to go abroad except to go to China, because Chinese people are very culturally close to some of my values, my philosophical values.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to study in my country because I always found that Polish people or Slavic people in general are very close to Chinese culture, but they don't want to admit it for different reasons. It's more of a political, philosophical subject. But I like the Russian culture a lot. I speak Russian fluently.
Mm-hmm.
And I speak Chinese, but I wanted to study in my own country. But I went to the university. I passed my exams, after finishing high school. I wanted to go to study computer science, but I didn't in the end. I decided to pursue a different degree because I thought, okay, programming is my hobby, but I don't want to work as a programmer. And now I work as a programmer. This is how life goes.
Of course.
But I started studying. I applied to the university, to the Jagiellonian University. This is one of the biggest universities in Poland, in Kraków. This is a very beautiful city. If you come to visit Poland,
I would love to.
You can go to Kraków. It's very climatic.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay outside of the touristic zones, it's very climatic. It's very Polish. It's multicultural, and this is a very beautiful thing about Kraków because, like, if you go to Kazimierz, it's a Jewish district. It was a Jewish district, and you can feel it. It's a very interesting, very climatic place. So, but I started studying. They knew about my blindness. Of course, I gave them all the documents, and I remember this day as it was today. It was afternoon. I was on a grammar lecture from the contemporary Chinese grammar, and I received an email from the person responsible for my year, for students of my year, and she said, "Hello, Mr. Arkadiusz, we have to speak tomorrow." And I was very much afraid. I started studying. I passed my exams with very good results because as I told you, I was translating from Chinese previously, and I'm a person who really takes such things to heart. I couldn't sleep that night because what did I do? What did I do to her? What's wrong?
Yeah, of course. You took it personally, yeah.
Yes, and I came to this meeting with very heavy heart, and she told me, "Oh, hello. Unfortunately, we have to throw you out, basically. The reason for throwing you out is because you don't see and you cannot learn to write Chinese characters by hand. And if you don't write Chinese characters by hand, you are not able to study Chinese properly." And I tried to explain, to reason with her, because I told her, okay, but a blind person doesn't learn to write letters, printed letters or written letters like a sighted person do. We either use a computer or we use a braille machine to input braille. And she told me, no, but Chinese is different. You cannot do this. So I told her, okay, I can try and learn Wubi. Wubi is okay. I have to digress once more.
Yes.
Wubi is a Chinese input method. Okay, there are more, but there are two main Chinese input methods. One is pinyin. It's like you shown it in your language demonstration video of language capabilities in Emacs. You shown it. So you type English letters, like you type N-I-H-A-O, and you get ni hao, which is hello in Chinese. You get the characters. And there is a second input method, which is called Wubi. Direct translation is 5 strokes. And this uses the system of inputting characters. Well, you have to know how the characters are written because every letter on your keyboard is a different type of stroke. A stroke is from point A to point B. You move your pen to write a part of the character. And I told her, okay, so if I learn Wubi, I'll know how to write characters, right? Will that be enough? No, it won't be enough.
Why wouldn't it be enough? Like, did this person have a point, or was it just a foregone conclusion and they were just
I won't be
objective.
I won't be objective because I feel hurt by them, but I think they didn't. I have many friends in China, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this is so stupid of her." And I tried to reason with her. I told her, "Hey, but I've started and I have such good results, and where I will go now?" Because, I wouldn't have a big problem with this if they said this before they admitted me. But this was already in November, so it was already past start of academic year. What would I have to do? And I started to fight. I went to the counselor to ask for disability discrimination office, and I told them, and they started to do something. But the person responsible for our year, told me, "Hello, Mr. Arkadiusz, we know that you start to fight. You can try, but we can't guarantee that you will have a good time here." They threatened me.
Oh, they said that. Oh, wow.
Yes, and this is very difficult, but this is important, so I have to go through it and speak it. Maybe if I speak about this publicly, it will make it easier for me to get through.
As you feel. Yeah.
I was very depressed. I backed down because I at that time I didn't have much support from my family, and I had to go back to my family home, which was it was a double failure. Once I lost a degree which I wanted so much, and second I had to go back to the family home, which wasn't ideal for me. And I was very depressed. I had plans to do something. I won't say because the algorithm will block us, but you know what I mean. But then I decided, okay, no, I have to do something with my life. I cannot waste myself like this. I worked so hard in school, even on this university. I have to put my head up and do something. And I started calling around universities in Europe. And in Milan, they said, okay, we can try. So I bought a ticket. I had support from my friends also from Milan. I bought a ticket and I went there, just like this.
And what was the program there? Was it the same thing you were about to study, or did they offer you a different
Yes,
degree?
it's similar. It's similar. Of course, it's a little different. But there in Milan, they were very kind. They said, okay, we will have to, of course, provide you with different materials for studying, but it's okay. It's no problem. I studied like everyone else. I used the same materials as everyone else. And I passed the same exams as everyone else. But now something, I lost my passion for academia because of this experience. I like to study. Learning is the best entertainment for me. I think one of the best entertainments. But I lost my passion for academia, if you know what I mean.
Yes, it's understandable, of course.
But this made me think about many different aspects of what I want to do, what I don't want to do, especially. And this shaped my opinion on various things. And this is how I landed in Milan.
And
now I'm
just to say, because you said that you also had support from your friends in Italy, did this play a role? Like, did you feel like back home you didn't have the same level of support, apart of course from the academic circle, but beyond?
Yes, it played a very significant role. It played a very significant role because I at least knew that someone is trying to believe in me and someone is trying to help. And of course, it was difficult because it was a totally different country, totally different people, totally different setting. But I decided to take the plunge because I had to take the life in my own hands. Like, I could blame them for the rest of my days. I could, they did this to me, and now I'm poor and I can't do anything. I don't have a degree. I don't have work. Yes, partially I would be right, but important thing is not to be complacent. Even if you fail, you have to stand up and go. To stay complacent is never a good thing.
And I think that's a good attitude. And the fact that you are a victim at some point, even if you are indeed the victim, so it's not like playing the victim card, even if you are indeed the victim, doesn't mean that you can get a license to complacency or get a license to just complain for the rest of your life and bemoan your fate.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I think. I'm sorry, my computer is speaking to me, and this is the reason why I'm typing. I have to...
Yeah.
I'll have to kill Emacs. I'm sorry, Emacs, but I have to kill you because you are speaking. Okay, sorry, I'm back.
That's fine. Yeah, good. And how was it, the transition? Because, of course, you also said you wanted to stay in your country and to study there. So
yeah.
Did you feel betrayed in a sense? Did you feel like your country wasn't as welcoming as you would like it to be? Or how did that feel?
I never put it out on the whole country as such. I was very dissatisfied with this university because they were advertising, this is the oldest university in Poland. It's one of the oldest university in Europe, and they always were saying about inclusivity, about all those things. And this university is so popular. We are taught about it since their childhood, basically. We know, everyone knows it. Everyone knows it's a legendary place founded by one of the queens of Poland. We have this in our history lessons. And I felt as if the core of my value system shaped by my studies, at school, got shattered. And this is a more abstract thing. It's not, they are so horrible, everyone lied to me. It's more abstract, because if someone you believe in, because it's passed from generation to generation, and then you come to experience it and it's not as they said, it's shattering, but on a more abstract level, I would say. It's not like, everyone lied to me, everyone is so terrible. It's more subtle, but it makes me believe less in what I say, what I see, what I hear, what I experience even.
And I imagine this experience has made you appreciate deeds rather than claims. Like, we are so inclusive, more inclusive than you can ever believe. Like,
yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
It is like that. And I used to work in politics. And in politics, you will get the most inclusive words, the most well-sounding phrases. They are politically correct in everything. Like, it's the best place to feel or to hear what you want to hear. But what you experience is nothing of the sort. So the words don't match the actions. And since then, I have an experience similar to you, where it's like, I basically don't believe in your words. Like, if I don't see the actions, if I don't experience something that actually is what you say, I don't believe in anything.
And the other thing I've learned somehow is that basically the system is an entity we cannot fight, cannot fairly challenge. Because, the worst thing in my situation is not that she threatened me like this. The worst thing in that situation is that she was right, if you know what I mean.
Like, they would do it and they wouldn't suffer any consequences.
Yes, exactly.
And
she was
part
right.
Part of that, I imagine, is because of how prestigious they are. They are basically untouchable.
Exactly. And this is the word for me, because she said she said it because maybe she even said it in good faith. I don't know. I don't see it in her head. I don't plan to decipher what she really meant. But what hurts the most is that she was right. No matter what was her intention, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. Which is how things are. And for me personally, whenever something is too prestigious, I am skeptical at the outset. Like, I feel that that is a recipe for abuse, and more generally, not just for institutions, for people as well. Like, if you put somebody on a pedestal, as they say, like if you say, "Oh, you are so great, you are the best, we all believe in you," you cannot do anything wrong. Whenever you put somebody on a pedestal, I think that's always a recipe for abuse or for
Exactly.
disappointment at the very least.
Exactly. We say about such people in Poland, we have this saying that someone can grow feathers. And we have another saying, it's also in English, but we say in Poland that someone can fall from a high horse. And this is very, very, very true.
Yes.
And what's very important, because I think it's not to say that we cannot admire anyone. But even if we admire someone, we have to know that they are also human and they also make mistakes alongside those great things they do. So that's the morale of this fairy tale, I'd say.
And on that note, how is it now? Like, you decided to assume responsibility. You understood that you could not just dwell on what happened, and you had to take the initiative and do something else. How did that pan out? That change in direction.
Well,
how do you feel about it?
I believe more in myself. I am very happy that I will have a degree in the end because I like Chinese. I really. It's not. I don't believe in making a degree because everyone around you does. Because now we live in the world where it's popular to go to university, and if someone gets very popular, it loses value. Like, for instance, imagine this situation: if there are like 50 people who are very good at something, who are specialists, they are valuable. I mean, every person is valuable, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
In
if
terms
suddenly,
of their skills,
if we just snap our fingers and there are 100,000 people with the same qualifications, they don't get valuable anymore. This is why we shouldn't follow fashion in terms of study. We have to follow our heart. Of course, also we have to follow the perspective of work because we live in a world where we need to pay for everything.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to finish the degree because I really like Chinese. But I never was able to learn Italian. I didn't have time for this, so I feel like a foreigner there.
Do you communicate in English then? Are they okay with that?
Yes, and a couple words of Italian. Like when I'm in the shop, I can say a couple of words, but I'm very afraid of speaking.
Yeah, I understand. Of course. Learning another language won't be easy. Already you are studying. It's too much work for you, I guess.
Yes, exactly. Also, I work. I have a daily job which I have to also attend to.
And how is life like beyond the computer? So, of course, on the computer, you have these technologies that allow you to use the computer, sometimes very well, sometimes not so well, as you have been telling me. But how is life outside of it? Because it's not just about making computers accessible, it's about making everything accessible. Like the pavement has to be accessible, the roads, the crossroads have to be accessible, and so on, right?
Well, it depends. Like, of course, in bigger cities, like in the capital of Poland, in Warsaw, everything is mostly very accessible. Like when I'm on the crossing, I can hear when there's a green light by a sound. When there's a red light, I don't hear a sound. Pavements have those touch things which I enter on. I can feel them under my feet, and I know that okay, you don't go further because you will fall under the car. Same with the underground trains and so on. In smaller towns, it's much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I've developed a solution with my friend from China, which allows a blind person to use the phone, and the phone can identify the traffic light, whether it's green or it's red. If it doesn't make a sound, it uses a little on-device AI, but basically not even AI, it's machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important distinction.
It is, yes.
It's a small machine learning model which we trained ourselves. So your data is not sent to any server. It's all processed on your phone. And basically technology helps in that regard because there are apps which allows us to navigate, to calculate a route from one place to another. Because, if you see what's around, you can I can see the crossroads. So here is this street, here is that street. And on the end, of that street, in the corner of my eye, I can see a restaurant or a shop. And you can know with your eyes more or less where to go. Whereas, unfortunately, blind people have to rely on something. Unfortunately, this is true. We cannot be fully independent. Like if I had a plan, of course, it was much before I've even heard about you and I met you. I wanted to live similarly to how you live, from what I know. But for me, it wouldn't be possible to live like you do. Even though I really would like it, I couldn't, because I have to rely on too many things.
Would because you mentioned the phone, and this gives me like an idea, like a sort of a question, like could the phone be used as kind of your co-pilot, let's call it, where it will tell you, on your right there is this obstacle, on your left it's clear, you can move in that direction, if
There
you
are
go
certain
forward 50 meters there is a wall or whatever, like could it
there is such technology, but for this we use an item which is called a white cane. And a white cane is just a stick with a ball at the end. And you have this stick in your main hand. In my case, I'm right-handed, so I hold it in my right hand. And I use this, I move around this stick in front of myself in an arc. So that I can see around myself in the nearest vicinity what obstacles I have, like walls, like poles. Poles are very difficult. You can.
Of course, if you miss it, you will
them.
hit your knee there. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, or some other parts, depending on how.
Even more painful.
Yes, so you have to be really careful. But it's doable. And the thing I find sad is that I have to rely on so many things, because if it's not the phone, it's someone else. I mean, I try to learn as many routes as possible, but of course it's difficult to learn the whole city in your head, right? You always, when you can't see it.
And of course there can be variables, like somebody has parked a car where they shouldn't.
Cars are very difficult as well. But I know someone who has a very good mobility. My partner has very good mobility. She can go wherever she can go wherever she wants. But even she has to rely. This reliance is the biggest problem of my blindness. I already would, when I was little, when I was a child, I had those dreams that I magically start to see and I can play football with my friends outside, or I can go to the military, but now I wouldn't want to regain sight, because it would basically be like hard reset. Yes. I would have to learn everything from scratch, because I would see, but I will still behave like a blind person, and I would be strange, I would become strange, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Because when I'm blind, it's normal for me to touch everything. If I were sighted and I was touching everything, it would be considered strange.
Yeah, they would say you are a creep. They would. People would really take it wrong.
Yes, I mean, I never touch people.
I know,
of course,
but even if you
by
were
accident.
even if you were to touch things, they would say, okay, this person is doing something
something strange.
Very unsettling. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's good as it is. I mean, there are upsides, there are downsides. The most important thing is that you can live alone as a blind person. You can do many things, but we have to let blind people try do the things, because this is an unpopular opinion, but I think I can say it here. At least in Poland, and I think in most countries, it's very popular to put blind children in the special schools for the blind. And on the surface, it's great because they can stay with other blind people. They can learn independence. They can learn how to, I don't know, make tea or make a sandwich or something. But this is not the way to go, because if we even, the truth is that majority of people are sighted.
Yes.
So if we are enclosed in our little garden, we learn only to be with other blind people, and when we come to normal society, we don't know how to behave.
Yeah, of course.
I think that we should try and rely less on this special education. When I started in such a school for blind people, but I was fighting very hard to get out. And fortunately for me, the high school, I finished the normal school like anyone else.
And do you think this exposure was to your benefit? Do you think it made you a more well-rounded person?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've learned so much mobility. I've learned many things, about life, about how to manage in an environment where, okay, some people want to help, some don't realize how to help. It's just a normal life. And when people finish, schools for the blind, they are not exposed to this, so they don't know how to behave, and you can't blame them for this.
No, of course you cannot blame them. And what you are now describing, I think, is, of course, it applies to special schools, but more generally, I think it applies to the idea of protecting somebody or making sure that somebody is in an environment that is safe for them and conducive to their abilities. Because, of course, the motive, the intention is good, of course, it's pure-hearted. But even
the
good
outcome,
intentions, can create issues down the road.
Yeah, we say that in Poland, Poland is a Catholic country, so many of our sayings stem from the Catholic learnings. But we have a good saying. We say that the hell is paved with good intentions, and and that's I think it's very true.
Yes, for sure.
But patronizing is not good, because the real life doesn't work like this, and this is what this is the message I try to send to the world.
Good. Tell me a little bit about the values, because you mentioned like Polish people or Slavic people in general have similar values or a philosophical outlook with the Chinese people. And I'm curious to learn more. I know very little, generally speaking. I know enough, more than the average person, I would say, but very little still, both about Slavic people and about Chinese people. So if you could just tell me like the big picture view, like
I would say, because now we are under globalization, which it's not good, in my opinion, because we are slowly losing our own identity. Everything is becoming flat. If something is above, then flatten it, make it flat with everything else. It's the Roman Empire way of doing things, if you know what I mean. So the history goes in circles. But the values, I think, it's first of all hardworking. To be a hardworking person, to work hard for yourself, to save yourself and your family, to work honestly, to not be complacent, to be honest with yourself and with others. This internal curiosity, I would say. Like, I'll give you an example of Chinese people, because this is very interesting. In Chinese people, in China, sorry, blind people mostly work in massage. They do physiotherapy and so on. But many of my friends who have their own massage parlors, they are so much driven by their internal curiosity that in their free time they become programmers, writers, sound designers. And I
Amazing.
think this this is something that I really admire.
Mm-hmm. 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 So it's always that sense that you can do better, or to put it differently, don't settle for mediocrity when you can have excellence.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This is very closely tied to the Confucian philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I really admire. Of course, this is what I'm saying now is very big simplifications, because we would have to spend 20 hours here and it would still not be enough.
No, for sure not.
What I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
it's and it's with any culture. It's different if you read about a given culture, or I don't know, watch a movie, or even listen to someone who is in that culture, who is researching that culture. It's completely different experience,
Mm-hmm.
180, I would say 180 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
than to meet someone from that culture and to live with such a person, or become friends with them, or spend more time with them, or visit their family, or whatever. Basically, when you experience the first-hand experience, it's something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not a good storyteller, but someone can tell you the best, most colorful story,
Mm-hmm.
but this story will become black and white when you experience the
Yeah.
given culture, the given, or basically anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, 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 yes. And actually, I had this debate with a friend. Well, not really a debate, this comment I made, because this friend was like, I am reading literature, and through literature, I learn about people and different experiences. And I'm like, that's good. It's better than nothing. But once you also experience people, it gives you like a three-dimensional representation of those experiences. Whereas now it's like 2D.
Yes, that's a very good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I would say even a sentence more, to experience, to read through literature or through movies. It's like to get a process. You get an already processed view, processed picture. Whereas when you
Mm-hmm.
experience it yourself, it's a raw stream. It's a
Mm-hmm.
raw thing without any processing. You are the processing. Whereas I can like read a book on Problem of the Free Bodies, for instance. It's science fiction book, but it tells a lot about the culture of China.
Mm-hmm.
And this book gets some sentiment of the author. Like when I can learn a lot from it, yes, but with that learning, I also get the sentiment of the author, if you know what I mean. So
Yes,
it's already
yes,
processed somehow, this
of
information
course.
that I get, or like whatever we learn about, whether it's software, whether it's philosophy, whether it's cultures, all those humane sciences, let's say, because if I learn math, I learn math. It's of course not exactly, because there are some subjects in math which can be interpreted in many different ways, but
Mm.
in general, you give an input, you get an output. Whereas with humane sciences, it's much more difficult. I would say that I don't know how you call it. Of course, with the humane sciences like languages, cultures, and so on, I would argue that they are more difficult than the hard sciences,
Mm-hmm.
because with like physics, mathematics, you learn. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, it's difficult. It's deep, because it's not a matter of shallowness or deepness. But when you learn like about cultures and so on, you both have to learn and to do your own interpretation and to do your own big picture of facts, your own fact
Yeah,
checking.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it is it's a difference in complexity fundamentally. Like once you reduce something to a formula, even if that formula is difficult in itself, it's still a simple representation of the world, of what it is mapping to.
Yes,
And
exactly.
yeah. And
So
you can
this
extend
is...
that to all of the humanities, like the experience of the, and I would say even the study of people is a simplification of people, as we have already covered.
Oh, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's because like we can learn that, I don't know, I did something, I don't know, I whatever, I did something which is considered wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still a simplification because you don't know why I did it.
Yes.
Maybe I didn't have other options. Maybe for whatever reason I found this option to be the best. It's nature gave us more than two colors. It gives us more than black and white, and it's also in our mentality. We have more than black and white. We have more than two colors.
Yeah, yeah. And because you mentioned law earlier, and I was making the joke that nobody's meant to understand it, this is why we cannot have rules that work automatically without judgment. It's why we always
Exactly.
have to apply our sense of, okay, what is the case here? What is happening? And try to understand it.
Yes, exactly. Even with now, we live in a world where it's more important than ever with all the AI,
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
all the privacy violations which are legally done on
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a very scary world, I would say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which
And I want
doesn't
to
mean
learn
that...
more.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, please,
Sorry.
please go ahead.
Which doesn't mean that we should give up. I put my hands up. No, I'm not doing anything because the world will end. The
Mm-hmm.
world will end if we let it. If we, as humanity, we make an agreement. Okay, the world is over, and then the world will end when there will be no more people to fight for our not wellness, because I don't believe in happiness. I won't
Mm-hmm.
say happiness, but serenity. If there
Mm-hmm.
is no one to fight for our serenity, then the world is done for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that regard.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What I want to learn, because you also mentioned earlier your moral issues, like moral reservations with regard to AI. But on the other hand, you said that with machine learning, which is different, as you importantly pointed out, with machine learning, you can benefit personally. Um, what do you see in AI that is objectionable? And do you see anything in it that could be beneficial for you in particular, but for humanity in general?
Well, I find the biggest problem I find objectionable is that AI now is centralized. So it's in a couple of mostly American companies, in the hands of mostly American companies who are interested only to gain money. So like ChatGPT, Claude, all those AI centers are designed to give us the illusion of superpowers. So like let's imagine there is a guy who is running a shop, for instance. I don't know, he's running a shoe store. Let's imagine this.
Mm-hmm.
And he is doing his business as usual, and he always wanted to have a special invoicing software that fulfills his special needs. Maybe he wants to have a special group of invoice data,
Mm-hmm.
and he would have to hire a programmer for, I don't know, let's say $10,000. And now with the AI in and this so-called vibe coding,
Mm-hmm.
he can basically buy an AI plan for $20 a
Mm-hmm.
month
Mm-hmm.
and describe the software in the natural language, and he'll get it
Mm-hmm.
more or less complete. Whether it will be good or bad, it's not important here.
Mm-hmm.
But what those companies do then, what this situation does, is they are now holding this person hostage. If they increase the price of the subscription to $40, he can either stop relying on his software, which AI built for him, or pay the higher price.
Mm-hmm.
And they can do it as much as they want. And people are becoming more and more reliant on AI because it's now cheap, accessible, nice, colorful, and so on. But it's going to get more expensive and not cheaper by the day. So basically, we are willingly keeping ourselves hostage. We are willingly keeping ourselves in the hands of those few companies. That's the first problem. The second problem is environmental. Of course, someone someone who is pro AI can say, "Oh, like if you do 20 Google searches, it's similar use of energy and water than doing one search with ChatGPT or with Claude or with anything." And yes, inference. So inference is when AI produces an answer from a question. It's pretty cheap. It's still not good because if it was so cheap, we wouldn't have RAM shortages and it wouldn't be so difficult to buy a memory now. But okay, let's say it's cheap. But training a new version of the model is so expensive from an environmental point of view. Basically, I know that in some countries they started destroying people's homes in order to build an AI center, to build an AI. I don't know how to the whole machinery. People are fighting for water in poorer countries, like in African countries, in South America and so on. People are fighting for water, just so those handful of people can become rich. But the biggest problem, I think, is this illusion of superpowers. Now people feel they are basically gods. Because I can describe to AI, I don't know, let's build an operating system. Of course, it's big simplification. I hope you understand. But I can say, okay, let's build an operating system. Or, okay, I don't like Emacs to be free. I want to sell Emacs. So let's rewrite Emacs from scratch and I'll sell it, for instance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And this fake illusion, it's like in the Apocalypse, the biblical book. It said that the devil or the Satan will continue to delude us with fake wonders. And this is, I'm not a believer, but this is what AI does. It gives us now promise of superpowers so that we become hostages to those companies. And now they basically own us. We let those companies own us to some extent because they can increase the prices, they can control us. And if it were only about money, but it's a much more difficult problem. If the police starts relying on AI to see if someone is guilty or not, what if AI hallucinates? What if we put an innocent person to prison? Who is going to put the blame? Who is going to take the blame? Because not the computer. The computer cannot take responsibility, right? So it's a multi-level problem.
For sure. It is for sure like that. Though I think what is central to all this is fundamentally ownership. Like,
Ownership.
For example, if AI was distributed in terms of ownership, all these issues would eventually be ameliorated because, for example, let's imagine there is a community, you mentioned Africa or South America, there is a community that owns the data center there, and maybe they themselves can decide how to use it, where to put it, to what extent they want to use it, how big it should be. So the fact that it is a foreign company doing that, it's basically a form of control from abroad. It's like colonialism.
Yes, the modern colonialism and modern slavery, and that's I try not to be so radical, but I can't do anything about feeling like this. Which doesn't mean that AI is bad 100%, because like it can describe images. I can send it a video of my family, and it will describe it to me. I can send an image of a control panel of a device, and it will describe it to me. Previously, I would have to call someone sighted for assistance. Now I can ask the computer. But like generative AI, so music making, video making, it's not good because it tries to touch the territory which is humane in nature. So art, it's humane in nature. We shouldn't do music with AI because what then remains of us as humans? If we delegate everything to the computer, what then? We are. It's very difficult. So even though, and for humanity, how AI can help, it definitely can. But the problem is that it won't, because the people who currently own it, they don't want it to help humanity. If we find a way to make AI communist, socialist in the purest sense, that would be very good for humanity. Otherwise, I don't see a future.
Yeah, it comes down to ownership, really, like because everything else ultimately stems from that, including the good things and the bad things, indeed. Do you ever rely on any AI, or whenever there is AI, you're like, no, I have to avoid it because of the reasons you have mentioned?
I really try to avoid it. Sometimes there is no way, and I won't pretend I never ever used it, because I did. First of all, I think to speak about something, you need to understand something. So before our talk, I did some vibe coding with AI to understand how it writes code. It tries to, and it maybe does, but I like the act of programming. So vibe coding is not for me. Yes, it's faster than me, but I mean, I also like to play chess, and I don't care if the computer is better at chess than me, because the chess problem was solved a long, long time ago. I don't care. I just like to play chess, and I also like to write programs. But before our talk, I wanted to learn about this. So I did vibe coding. I did some image descriptions. I rely on image descriptions sometimes. But I try to be mindful. I use it. I don't use it like, oh, I find a photo on the internet, so I'll describe it. No, because it's. I do it only when I have no other way.
Okay. I understand. Yes. And of course, what you mentioned now about chess and about the fact that you like programming, ultimately is what happens, or rather what the future is for everything that is the domain of human creativity, which is like, well, even if the machine can do a better piece of music than me, or a better painting than me, or whatever, it doesn't matter, because I still enjoy painting, I still enjoy playing music, writing programs, and so on.
Exactly. This is not in itself a very big problem. The bigger problem is we have to somehow have money. And I think almost nobody believes in, oh, there's this concept. I don't know if you've heard about it. You probably did. Universal basic income. So everyone will have enough money to live.
I can tell you something about that.
This is a pipe dream.
I used to think that that is a great idea. Like, let's have universal basic income, right? What could go wrong? And then I heard somewhere where an executive, a business executive, who wanted to maximize their profits, of course, was like, well, but we can give them universal basic income. And then, of course, they can spend it on what we are doing. And I was
Exactly.
like, yeah, we
This
have to
is
be
even more
careful.
control.
Yes.
Because, like, imagine a system where everyone gets a universal basic income, but it can be modified by your loyalty towards the state, for instance. So if you are loyal to the state, to the propaganda, you get more. If you are not, you get enough to buy a loaf of bread, but nothing more, for instance.
Yeah.
So
or it is earmarked for specific purchases and not others, and so on. Yeah.
Exactly. So there can be lobbying and other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
of
I
course, of
think,
course.
but I think we should still do our things, and we still should fight. We should fight. We should educate others, and this is the most important thing.
And what you just said about educate others is also what I wanted to connect earlier, because you said about yourself how you decided to carry on and take the initiative and rise to the occasion and basically take life in your own hands. And then you told me about the values and how you see those values in Slavic culture and also in Chinese culture. And now the final point to this is the community, right? Because an individual, no matter how capable they are, how strong, how talented they are, an individual ultimately cannot do much on their own.
Exactly.
Do you see anything? Do you have an outlook towards community, towards people, towards building up something beyond your own self? Do you participate in groups? Do you try to bring people together?
Yes, I work, as I said at the beginning, I try to work in organizations which empower blind people. Like there's this website, Polish website called Tiflo Podcast. They do podcasts for the blind people, and this is basically a passionate group of people who want to share their knowledge. And it's about technology, it's about cooking, it's about all different kinds of things. And I try to participate because I believe in this common bank of knowledge.
And do you have communities, like a group of people also in your immediate vicinity, like in your neighborhood or in your town? Or is it
Yes,
mostly digital?
there are such groups, but unfortunately, younger people tend to not participate. So this type of groups is mostly like 50 plus.
Oh, really?
Yes, younger people, mostly internet. Because there's this problem of sheltering, what we've discussed before. People are afraid to get out of home and do something in real life, which is also very sad.
Yeah. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
If anything, it will get worse, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tricky. And just as we cannot affect the system, we also have very little power to change how others will do things.
Exactly. We can only change our own perspective and our own decisions. That's what we can affect, definitely. And the rest is beyond us. And the sooner we understand this, the better our lives will get.
Yes, because ultimately we won't be disappointed the whole time. Why nobody is doing something, right?
Yes, just do, and maybe someone will follow your example.
This is what I learned as well, which is lead by initiative, not by virtue signaling. Like, oh, it would be nice if we did such and such, but nobody actually does anything. Whereas, like, okay, do it, and then others might be able to notice what you are doing and hopefully be inspired to do the same.
Yes, exactly. And this is a very important lesson I would like anyone to draw from this speech of ours. But everyone can draw, of course, their own conclusions. Someone will come here for Emacs. Someone will come here for Chinese. Someone will come here for whatever else. Someone will come here just to listen, and that's okay as well. This is why we create all of us. We create this space so everyone can have something good to spend their time on.
And it goes back to what you were saying earlier about the raw stream, right? As opposed to the filtered view that you get, where it's exactly you allow the other person to get the raw information and then do what they feel with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good, very good. Is there something else you would like us to talk about? Otherwise, I think we covered already a lot of ground.
Oh, we covered a lot of things. I would just, I think that's it. I think that's it. I actually wanted to say a little about how I input opinion in Emacs. and what it required to bring to Emacspeak. Because basically, there are many Chinese characters which have the same pronunciation.
Yes.
So there, in Chinese, we have this system called explanations. So like there's the character 我, which means I, myself. And there are many other characters for 我. And when I go with my arrow keys or with my CF, CP, and so on, the system can read 我们的我, which is the explanation of the character. So it means it reads the context of where the character is used. Emacspeak doesn't have support for this, and I'm slowly working on adding this. For now, I made a command as, which are my initials, dash query dash explanation, and it will give explanation for character at point, but I want to simplify this in the near future.
What is the technology? What is the underlying technology here? What is it calling to get this explanation?
I stole a dictionary from John Doe, from the screen reader for Windows that I told you about. They have a very comprehensive dictionary. Of course, steal is in the quotes because they are good friends at John Doe and they allowed me to use their dictionary. I'll just parse the dictionary, get the correct character, and get its explanation. So that's just a little curiosity, a little trivia for the end.
Okay, nice. And just to say, you can always send me any links you want, and I will include them in the description of this video.
Yes, I'll send you. Definitely, I'll send the presentation that I've made. The presentation is open source on GitHub as well. I used Emacs for this, so you can. It contains my old config. It's not the current config, the presentation, because I had to make a special self-contained config for the presentation where I enabled keycast so people knew what I'm typing. This is a very old config. My config changes a lot these days because I still learn.
I think this is the story of every Emacs user.
Yes, exactly.
You hear about people, it's like, oh, I've been using Emacs for 30 years and I learned something new. And they're like, what?
Yes, exactly. I learn something new every day when I have time to study.
Yeah. It's amazing. Very well. So I say we call it a day, and I will conclude this video. I will stop recording, and then we can close the call. Let me stop recording, and then we close the call. So bye to the folks who were watching or listening. So stop the recording now. Stop.